afternoon and welcome to Nationwide on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We're reaching you live from Abuja. I am Ronke Kolawole. President Muhammadu Buhari has given a marching order to law enforcement agencies to deal decisively with any individual or group that attempts to sabotage the nation's electoral process through any form of malpractice. Speaking at an emergency national caucus meeting of the governing All Progressives Congress APC today, the president vowed to ensure that Nigeria's democracy is safeguarded from abuse no matter what it takes. State House correspondent Adam Sambo reports.
Informed by the sudden postponement of elections by INEC, the emergency national caucus meeting of the APC was an opportunity by stakeholders to critically analyze and properly respond to issues at stake as they affect the interests of the governing party. President Muhammadu Buhari, who revealed that he was only informed about the shift in dates for the polls at 4:35 Saturday morning, described the reasons for the action by the nation's electoral umpire as flimsy.
INEC has all the time and all the resources they wanted. They didn't have to wait for only 6 hours to cast in the votes to tell us that it was impossible. We do not understand why this inefficiency. And we have to go into details after the election to find out who is responsible. Definitely, the reasons why such incompetence manifests itself has to be explained to the nation. Otherwise, our efforts, to make sure that this system we voluntarily accept is not making progress. What is the use if we will accept incompetence? The Constitution and the laws protected INEC, but they must not take us for granted.
Even as the elections were postponed by 1 week, there were reports on the discovery of various acts of malpractices in parts of the country. The president, who described the situation as unfortunate and intolerable, directed law enforcement agencies to do whatever is necessary towards ensuring that votes count.
I have briefed the law enforcement agencies and the military. They have identified hotspots, flashpoints. They should be prepared to move. I want Nigerians to be respected. Let them vote whoever they want across the parties. I'm not afraid of that. I have gone through, as you said, the whole 36 states and Abuja. I went round. I think I have got enough supporters across the country. So anybody who thinks he has enough influence in his locality to lead a body of thugs to snatch boxes or to disturb the voting system, he will do it at the expense of his own life.
President Buhari, however, used the opportunity to once again urge the teeming supporters of the APC to remain steadfast and exercise restraint while returning to vote on Saturday.
We have to tell our constituencies that they have to be patient and must react in a very responsible way by going peacefully to vote again. I do not expect anybody to make any disturbance.
National chairman of the APC, Adams Oshomole, also spoke in the same vein, saying no matter the circumstances, taking Nigeria to the next level is a task that the nation's majority is not prepared to compromise.
One setback cannot be the end. Our commitment to democracy is not negotiable. Our people's determination to elect Mr. President is not at the mercy of any institution, including INEC. Yes. And many have resolved that the more INEC try to frustrate our people, the more determined we are.
The chairman, who expressed serious reservations over the intentions and neutrality of INEC regarding the way and manner the elections were rescheduled, however, said the APC is now fully alert and alive to its responsibilities as the party to beat. In Abuja, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Buhari Support Organization has assured the All Progressives Congress APC of its continued support ahead of the rescheduled February 23 presidential and National Assembly elections. National chairman of the organization, Dr. Mahmoud Abubakar, gave the assurance at a media briefing today in Abuja. Kunle Hadiyeye reports.
The Buhari Support Organization is the umbrella body in charge of all the support groups of President Muhammadu Buhari. The briefing convened by the organization was to express disappointment over the postponement of last Saturday's polls, but however urged members not to relent in their efforts towards mobilizing support for President Buhari's re-election bid.
We have our support base, and people have seen what APC has accomplished in 3.5 years. A lot of things that have not happened in over 16 years back, before 2015. We are not threatened in any way. We have the people, we have the support, and they know what APC stands for. Especially they know what the president is all about. He's about the people, he's for the country, he's for progress.
He implored members to embark on massive sensitization of the electorate on the achievements of the Buhari administration. Similarly, the chairman of Abuja Municipal Council area, Abdullahi Adamu Candido, has called on opposition political parties to maintain decency in their comments, especially as regards the postponement.
We have called on the PDP Publicity Secretary to guard his words on the person of Mr. President. Their frustration and desperation for power must not be reason to reduce the office of Mr. President to nothingness. Instead, they should blame themselves for their misfortune, having had 16 years opportunity that was not utilized for the common good of Nigerians.
The APC, he assured, will always remain law-abiding before, during, and after the elections. In Abuja, Kunle Adeyeye, NTA News.
Well, we now join the national chairman of APC, Adams Oshiomhole, for the communique of the APC caucus emergency meeting held here in Abuja.
All right, thank you so much for joining us again. This is the live transmission of the APC National Caucus meeting taking place at the APC National Secretariat here in Abuja, the nation's capital city. The meeting was held successfully, and what we are about seeing now is the communique by the national chairman of the party, Comrade Adams Oshiomhole. The meeting was held behind closed doors for some hours. Now we are here to hear from the national chairman the outcome of the National Caucus meeting. Don't forget, the meeting was well attended by those who are supposed to be here, led by the President Muhammadu Buhari, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, governors, both serving governors, and the party's governorship candidate as well, attended the National Caucus meeting, which is kind of an emergency meeting called to look into some of the issues as it affects the party and in preparation to the rescheduled election. Now we are going over to the national chairman of the party, Comrade Adams Oshiomhole, on the communique.
Ladies and gentlemen of the press, although I do understand that in the world of the media, everybody is a gentleman, we had an emergency national caucus meeting of the All Progressive Congress this morning, which was very well attended by Mr. President, the Vice President, our national leaders, state governors, governorship candidates, and coordinators of the PCC, Presidential Campaign Council. The purpose of the meeting was basically to reflect on the sudden and unfortunate decision by INEC informing the nation in the early hours of Saturday, precisely at about 2:30 a.m., of INEC decision to postpone the elections by 1 week. both presidential by 1 week, and of course the the governorship and State House of Assembly by 1 week. We reviewed our campaigns across the country, and we give thanks to God that throughout those campaigns, across the north, south, east, west, across the 36 states, to the glory of God, in spite of all the security challenges that we are very familiar with, there was not one single incident of terrorist attack or any violent attack at any of those rallies across the country, not only by APC, but also by other political parties that participated in campaigns. As they say, to God be the glory. However, APC deeply regrets the death of many of our supporters who demonstrated so much passion, love, and commitment, particularly to the candidature of President Muhammadu Buhari, who, on account of the huge number that turned out in many of those locations, some died as a result of stampede and suffocation. The National Caucus observed a minute silence in their memory, and we pray to God Almighty to grant them peace in heaven. We also reviewed the shocking announcement by INEC and the subsequent explanation by the INEC chairman on Saturday afternoon at about 3 o'clock. Even after listening to those stories and explanation, the National Caucus of the All Progressive Congress condemned the way in which INEC had managed this process. We reiterate the fact that INEC had 4 years to plan for this election. On their own, they roll out the timetable. They ought to have been able to foresee what they required, possible source of challenges, and take appropriate steps to arrest any unforeseen development. Having conducted elections in this country since 1999, in 2019, INEC cannot give excuses. There is nothing new that we have not experienced since 1999. What the All Progressive Congress expected, and I believe all decent and peace-loving Nigerians, is that INEC had the advantage, unlike its predecessors, to have learned from the challenges confronted by its predecessors, improve on the method, improve on logistic management, and ensure each free, transparent, and credible election. Unfortunately, in spite of the huge resources which INEC asked for, and which the National Assembly appropriated, and which the executive properly released to INEC, in spite of all of this, INEC has subjected us to this huge embarrassment as a nation, and by that action alone, a lot of our countrymen and women are completely disillusioned. However, we recognize, as they say, that we cannot throw away the baby with the bathwater. Frustrated as we are, disappointed as we are, and disillusioned as the Nigerian electorate is right now, we have a duty, all of us, including the media, to remind our countrymen and women that this is our country. This is the time to stand up and be counted on the side of democracy. Nothing, and absolutely nothing, that is done by INEC or indeed anyone that has any role to play in the management of this electoral process should dampen the spirit of the Nigerian people to go out and vote and elect a president of their choosing, National Assembly members of their choosing, and of course, governors and House of Assembly members of their choosing. If anything, the sacrifices already made by the Nigerian people, those millions of people who turn out at various campaign grounds, their sweat, their pain, and indeed even those who die in the course of stampede, they mustn't be allowed to die in vain. The least we can do as a people is to remain resolute, and the National Caucus call on Nigerian people to remain resolute and come out on Saturday and cast their vote in full freedom, without fear of harassment, fear of intimidation, or any other thing that could provide excuse for anyone not to come to vote. Mr. President, in his capacity as the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, has reiterated his commitment and his directive to the Nigerian Armed Forces that they have a duty to protect and to give confidence to the electorate so that Nigerian people can come out and exercise their right to vote and to ensure that those votes are counted. We also want to use this opportunity, that is the National Caucus, to remind INEC that whoever has power must not lack wisdom. We recognize that the law provides specific responsibilities for INEC, but in exercising their rights and responsibilities within the provisions of the law, they must not lack the wisdom to carry along critical stakeholders without whose support INEC cannot succeed. It bears repeating that INEC ought to have arranged to invite political party leaders, share with us their concerns, their observations, their fears, and even their hope, and together look at all the options that are possible so that the kind of root shock that Nigerians were subjected to could have easily been avoided. So we urge all our members, and indeed the Nigerian people, to remain steadfast and committed. We mustn't dismiss our country. We mustn't dismiss INEC, even with the obvious incompetence that have been demonstrated by the way in which they have managed this year's edition of the national elections. We have to keep INEC on their toes to ensure that never again will they find any excuse. And all Nigerians should be able to point out anything they observe that they think, if it is not corrected, can possibly undermine the conduct of free, fair, and credible elections. However, we also affirm, the caucus also affirm, that in line with the extant provisions in the amendment, in the Electoral Act as amended, that in order to ensure and avoid low turnout on Saturday, we have resolved to renew the campaigns, to go around the country, and we have encouraged all our officers, organs, and all those involved in the campaign to proceed in accordance with the provisions of the law to sustain campaign up until 24 hours before Saturday. That is to say, campaign will stop at 12 midnight on Thursday this week. This is the provision of the law, and this we are prepared to abide with. If we were to accept INEC's suggestion that campaign should stop, that would be a recipe for low turnout. And any close observer of election manipulation in Nigeria will agree that low turnout is the best incentive for election riggers. When the people really turn out, the room to manipulate election result is always very slim. So we urge our people to renew from today to go out across the country, across the 176 polling points, to reawaken the people's consciousness and encourage them to come out to vote on Saturday. On this issue, we disagree completely with the illegal pronouncement of the INEC leadership with regards to our right as a political party to continue with the campaign in the face of this postponement that INEC has done unilaterally. After reviewing reports from across many of our states, we are shocked to observe that in many states in which PDP are governors, that a lot of the high-doc staff that INEC has deployed are card-carrying members of the PDP. This is very, very unfortunate. INEC has a duty to screen and to ensure that those deployed as ad hoc staff who will function as presiding officers at local government and ward community centers are not card-carrying members of any political party. We urge INEC to review this situation and effect the appropriate correction. Happily, INEC has said they are going to retrain those they have already trained. I think this opportunity offered them opportunity to revisit and properly re-identify those they have recruited as ad hoc staff and ensure that they are not card-carrying members of any political party. The National Caucus also urged our security agencies, including the police, state security services, and even the armed forces who are involved in ensuring that elections are conducted in a free and safe environment. There have been unverified reports about people who have been caught with printed and even already prepared result sheets in some part of the country. I am not able to name those involved in this, but we are informed and we have no reason to doubt some of these people have been handed over to the police. We urge the police not to release anyone, regardless of his political party, or the interests he represents, that anyone found with any of these sensitive materials which ought not to be in the custody of any other person other than INEC, that once apprehended, police should ensure that they are kept out of circulation until they are able to diligently investigate and prosecute those involved in this attempt to manipulate the election. Happily, those who have been arrested so far, from all that we have been told, and we have no reason to doubt, are all PDP activists. The caucus, having expressed deep concern about this sudden postponement, we also have some worries about INEC preparedness to ensure that this Saturday, the postponed date, that date is sacrosanct. Therefore, we urge INEC and we urge Nigerians to encourage INEC to do whatever it has to do to ensure that on Saturday there is no excuse whatsoever. The ballot papers must be delivered timely. Every material required for the conduct of the election must get to the polling booth not earlier or not later than 8 a.m. when these elections are billed to start. Having postponed this election, Nigeria will not accept any excuse from INEC or from any quarters. Materials must be available at 8 a.m. I will expect that voting commences nationwide. Like some people who have made observation, APC believes that elections should be done at the same time nationwide. We are opposed to staggered election. Nations that are even more in population and more diverse are able to conduct their elections without staggering. We have no reason not to do the same. In any case, since 1999, we have been doing elections without having to recourse to staggering, except where those elections were inconclusive. Lastly, we remain curious, and to that extent, we are very suspicious of the leadership of INEC. It is now clear to us from all that we have seen that the People's Democratic Party and their candidates and top leaders were aware that the elections will not take place. This we can easily confirm by some of the tweets, some of the conversations they've had, and some of the messages they have passed across within their party lines, informing them that election will not take place, even at a time that we as the governing party were not in the know. So INEC has a duty now. We're asking INEC to explain to us how is it that the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces did not have privileged information that INEC would postpone election You heard the president this morning saying he was only waking up at about 4:30 a.m., maybe for his early morning prayers, when he was informed that the elections will not hold and the INEC has postponed the election. If the president did not have access to privileged information until about 4 a.m. when he woke up to say his morning prayers, how can INEC explain that PDP hierarchy had information, prior knowledge of the fact that the elections were not going to take place? These and many other activities have raised doubt in our mind about the impartiality of INEC and the unholy alliance between a section of INEC leadership and the PDP establishment. If it becomes necessary between now and Saturday to speak more to these and other issues that we have come to discover, we will not hesitate to do so. But let me conclude by saying that as a governing party, we recognize that regardless of our huge reservations about the competence, honesty, impartiality of INEC, we are determined to do our best to work with INEC to ensure that Nigerians enjoy the right to vote and to have those votes counted in a safe and secure environment, and that the elections are conducted in a manner that is free, fair, and transparent. We do it not because we have any obligation to the international community. We do it because we have obligation to ourselves as a nation. As a country that has fought wars, and as a country that has provided Nigeria troops to defend democracy within our sub-region and beyond, we have no excuse whatsoever not to be able to manage our elections in a way that will enable every Nigerian to celebrate his citizenship of this country. So for those foreign observers and local observers, I want to assure them, as far as our party is concerned, we welcome them as partners in progress who are prepared to share with us their own experiences. However, having said that, we are not a colony of any country. We are a sovereign, and even in this moment, we are not ready to subject our sovereignty to the supervision of any foreign power. We are the greatest power on the African continent, and we will defend our honor and uphold the integrity of our great nation. Thank you so much, members of the press. You have been there all the period. Some of you travel around the country along with the various presidential candidates and senatorial candidates and all those who have been involved in the election. No. When I say you, I'm speaking through, and not just you in this room. There are many. There is nowhere I visited I didn't see media. I saw cameramen and women, journalists with pens and pencils across the country. So if you didn't travel, you were one of the KBSCs. Yes. We still appreciate you for remaining where you are. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
That was the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Comrade Adams Oshomole, reading the communique of the national caucus meeting of the APC that was heard earlier today. Thank you so much for watching. We ask you to stay tuned to the rest of our programs. My name is Saliu Abdullahi. On behalf of the outside broadcasting crew of the Nigerian Television Authority, we say thank you so much once again for being part of our programs. Thank you.
Chairman of APC, Adams Oshomole, has just presented the communique of an emergency meeting held by the APC caucus in Abuja today. And moving on nationwide, more than 3 million permanent voter cards remain uncollected. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu made this known in Abuja. Mie Ogidi reports.
27th of April 2017 was the date the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, started the continuous voter registration exercise and ended in August 2018. That is about 16 months. And within this period, 14.28 million eligible voters were registered, though many came late. After the registration, the next phase of the exercise started, that is the collection of permanent voters' cards, and it was suspended on the 11th of February 2019.
That of the 14.28 million permanent voter cards made available for collection, about 10.87 million, or 76.12%, have already been collected.
So, about 3,041,000 permanent voters' cards remain uncollected.
We are going to call in all the uncollected PVCs and warehouse them in the central bank for safekeeping until after the elections. After the elections, then we'll make the cards once again available for collection and also resume the registration of voters, for which the Commission will issue a timetable after the election.
However, the INEC is currently embarking on what it called mop-up exercise of all uncollected permanent voters' cards before the 2015 general elections. Mayor Ogede, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the FCT Independent National Electoral Commission has returned sensitive materials it received for the conduct of the postponed presidential and National Assembly election till the vote of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Ifeoma Ojinta reports.
Materials left the premises of the FCT INEC office Sunday afternoon amidst tight security for the Central Bank of Nigeria.
It has been our custody, but today we have to return all of them back to this safekeeping at the board of the Central Bank. We will not have conducted a very credible election with the materials, with the 13 pellets missing. And this is not, the FCT is not in isolation. So there was really a need. That is why all these materials that we collected, they were in our custody. In fact, only yesterday again, I received, there was a misdirected, material, which I collected from Kaduna office. So I'm going to add that one and give it to Central Bank to keep.
This is the old CBN here in the FCT, and over 10 truckload filled with sensitive materials have just gone into the premises of the Central Bank. However, due to security reasons, cameras were not allowed into the CBN.
I wouldn't see how we could have gone on an election with those materials. Those materials are almost half of the materials for the 6th Area Council. And again, result sheet belonging to the senatorial election in FCT misdirected to Kaduna. And they brought it. If we are to go ahead with the election, where will we get those result sheets? So you see, but now, with all these things I know by now, I have the special grace of God. We are going there now to make sure everything we took is brought back. It will be recalled that the FCT Independent National Electoral Commission took delivery of the sensitive materials for the rescheduled Saturday 16th polls for the Federal Capital on the eve of the postponed election day. Ifeoma Ojinta, NTA News.
Also, the sensitive materials deployed to all the 16 local government areas of Ekiti State for the conduct of the election have been returned to the vote of the Central Bank of Nigeria in Ekiti. Ayode Ogunshake reports that the materials were confirmed by all concerned key players.
Sensitive materials initially distributed on the eve of the election day was performed at the office of CBN at Ekiti. The returned materials were confirmed by security agents, political parties, officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC and CBN, who confirmed that the materials are in order.
Ekiti State happens to be one of the first states that successfully retrieved all the materials. Everything I can confirm to you with my sister agencies and the INEC director, that everything is very, very much intact.
All the materials has been retrieved, the one that was been dispatched before, so nothing tampered with, so everything is intact.
We confirm with our own record and we discovered that all the materials were intact.
What they did mainly was to invite the security officers inside to confirm if all the necessary materials have arrived, and they have confirmed them.
The Administrative Secretary of the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC in Ekiti State, Dr. Muslim Omoleke, said that other sensitive materials that were not received before the shift in the election have arrived for the conduct on Saturday.
Most of the results were customized. We have received virtually all the materials, but we need to cross-check.
Non-sensitive materials have also been returned following the postponement last Saturday. In Ekiti, Ayodi Jogunshaki, NTA News.
In the meantime, the National Assembly has postponed its resumption of plenary to Tuesday, the 26th of February 2019. A statement by the National Assembly clerk, Sani Omalori, explains that the postponement from the earlier date of 19th February to 26 is prompted by the postponement of the general elections. The clerk urges all senators and House of Representatives members to resume plenary on the stated date. Time now to join Elizabeth in Lagos for more reports on Nationwide. Hello, Elizabeth.
And thanks for joining us in the Center of Excellence. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC in Lagos State, has commenced the reconfiguration of smart card readers to reflect the new date of the elections. Michael Olale reports that activities are picking up at the Commission's office after the postponement of last Saturday's election.
Beehive around the INEC office in Lagos, an indication that residents have put the disappointment of the postponement of Saturday's election behind with renewed vigor to come out and march and exercise their franchise this Saturday.
The same turnout that would have been out last week will be the same turnout this very week.
With the love of the country, with the love of people need to emphasize their energy and their rights.
Meanwhile, the Commission is already readjusting its plans and programs to reflect the present reality.
We are reconfiguring the smart card reader. It has been configured to read and to work for February 16th, but now they are reconfiguring it now to work on the 23rd.
While giving assurance of credible elections, the Deputy Director of Publicity said training of ad hoc staff will continue at the local government level before Saturday's elections.
The materials for all the 20 local government in Lagos State are now safe in CBN custody.
Very conspicuous at the INEC office are security agencies and men of the fire service. In Lagos, Michael Olaleye, NTA News.
Truck drivers have continued to tread blame on the return of articulated vehicles on roads in Lagos metropolis. Paul Omokago tells us more.
The presence of articulated vehicles on bridges and major roads is not entirely the fault of the truck drivers, as they spend between 1 to 3 weeks before gaining access to Apapa ports. Delay in entering the ports, they say, leave them with no other alternative but to wait for their turn on the bridges and the adjoining roads.
I'm a trailer driver. This is my truck. I've been here for the past 2 weeks. No way to go to inside ports to go and load.
I don't queue for Ido. I did for Ido like 3 weeks before we come here again.
Last time before election, he said, you know, go allow the motor empty, where you carry empty container. You know, go drop us for WAF. And that empty container, up to now, they enter. So they go back for roads.
The opening of Leventis Bridge in Apapa is one of many steps taken by the Federal Ministry of Power, Works and Housing to decongest the bridges and roads. The other step is the completion of a 350 trailer park with the construction of a shore protection, delaying the use of the facility.
The reason why it's not being put to use till now is because we felt it is better for operational efficiency, safety and security reasons to construct the shoreline protection.
The good news is that part of the materials for the shoreline protection has already arrived to the country.
The presence of articulated vehicles on a co-bridge will linger for a while. The reason being that the park that is supposed to accommodate as much as 350 vehicles is yet to be opened to the trailer drivers. In Lagos, Paul Omukago, NTA News.
And that's a contribution from Lagos. Let's now join Ronke in Abuja for more on Nationwide.
Thank you, Elizabeth. You're watching Nationwide on the NTA. We now go on short commercial break. More news when we return.
The Nigerian Export-Import Bank, NEXIM, which was established to foster the ease of exportation, has within the last 3 years made giant strides through restructuring of its operations towards achieving the economic recovery and growth plan of the present administration. With the 500 billion naira stimulation facility and the 50 billion naira exports development funds, non-oil exports have been boosted tremendously under the new philosophy of produce, add value, and export. Production has also been enhanced under the industries of cocoa, cashew, sesame seed, gum, and leather through the approval of another 25 billion naira. The industrialization and production of woven sacks for packaging of agricultural produce in Lagos and Sokoto states, the post-research and resuscitation of an oil mill in Borno state, and production and export of soya oil in Benue state have been enhanced through the support of NEXIM Bank. All these funding by NEXIM Bank is towards achieving the zero oil plan of the President Muhammadu Buhari administration.
Mars Medical Mission has finally done it, ensuring that the prevention of cancer and cancer-related ailments is available to you right where you are. Our mobile cancer center, also known as Pink Cruise, is equipped with relevant state-of-the-art medical equipment to serve you wherever you are. All you have to do is apply for the Pink Cruise to come to your community or organization by sending a request to info@pinkcruise.org. Remember to suggest 3 alternative dates when you will prefer the Pink Cruise to come to conduct free preventive health care at your doorstep, including checking your body, your eyes, and your teeth. For more information on the Pink Cruise and how to take advantage of it, please log on to www.pinkcruise.org or visit us at the MMM House, number 31 Abode Thomas Street, Surulere, Lagos, or call 0805-633-4288. Mission Pink Cruise, taking wellness to all.
When you hear that sound, you know that Nigeria's most authentic newscast is about to begin. NTA Network News, breaking the news for over 40 years.
Rukaya has more stories from Kaduna Network Center. Hello, Rukaya.
Hello, Ronke, and welcome to Kaduna Network Center. The Independent National Electoral Commission says it is pursuing with vigor its plans for the conduct of rescheduled elections. Abdullahi Muhammad has a situation report from the Kaduna office of the Commission.
Here I am in the compound of the Independent National Electoral Commission here in Kaduna, and then what we have been able to observe this morning is that the Commission has resumed fully preparation for the Saturday elections. We also observed that the card reader machines have already been reconfigured to reflect the time and date of the election. They told us categorically that they are ready. And if you look at this way, you see that a number of security personnel are also standing by to, receive any kind of information from the Commission, especially for the movement of sensitive materials that they have been able to, return back to the vote of the CBN. And, subsequently, this personnel who move them, to the 23 local government areas of the state for the election come 23rd, February.
We have been following the directives given to us by our headquarters that all distributed sensitive materials should be returned back to the central bank vault. And as I'm speaking to you, every material that is sensitive of the Kaduna INEC that was distributed over the weekend to the local government area offices have been returned to the CBN vault.
Significantly is the fact that the Independent National Electoral Commission here in Kaduna said it is ready, and it is also waiting for a directive from its headquarters in Abuja, to start moving these significant or sensitive materials to the 23 local government areas of the state for the conduct of the election come Saturday. In Kaduna, Abdullah Muhammad, NTA News.
In Kano, attention is shifting to provision of the state-of-the-art medical facilities to increase access to healthcare services among rural dwellers as part of efforts to curtail the rising cases of maternal mortality. Muhammad Rabiu Ali reports that pregnant women and children in Dawakin Kudu and Warawa local government areas will now have better access to healthcare services as the two communities receive the donation of medical facilities worth millions of naira.
Hassan is among pregnant women who has been in labor for some days. Delivery was difficult because there was no health facility around to cater for her. But reprieve come their way with a donation of emergency ambulance, equipped laboratories and female postnatal wards. This package is under Haiwa Lafia, a program designed to cater for the local needs of these women in Dewa Chinkudu and Warawa local government areas. This gesture was supported by the Aminikano Teaching Hospital.
The issues of maternal mortality and infant mortality are things that are of grave importance to us in Nigeria, particularly in the northwestern part of Nigeria. The gesture we've seen here, if there's any complication, ambulances are available at the disposal of these women so that in case the healthcare facility cannot cater for them, they could be transported to bigger healthcare facilities where they could be taken care of.
For the beneficiaries, the gesture will continue to remain indelible for a long time to come. Muhammad Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
And that's our contribution from Kaduna. It's back to Ronke in Abuja for more stories on Nationwide.
Thank you, Rukayat. The Kwara State chapter of the All Progressives Congress APC has advised INEC against compromising its integrity and neutrality in the execution of its assignment, especially in the deployment of ad hoc staff in the state during the forthcoming general elections. This was contained in a statement issued in Ilorin, Kwara State on Monday by the Kwara APC chairman Bashir Bolariwa and signed by the publicity secretary Folaromi Tajuddin. The chairman said the party received information that those being posted across Kwara as electoral officers, EOs, and technical staff were nominated and trained by the PDP. He also cited the case of an electoral officer who was caught hiding boxes of ballot papers in an office in Kwara North by a vigilant DSS officer, saying that when the EO was forced to open the office by the DSS official, he admitted to hiding the boxes but claimed it was a mistake. He called on INEC to make available to all the parties records of the sensitive materials they will be distributing to all local government and wards across the state ahead of Saturday's presidential and National Assembly election in order to forestall any attempts at misconduct or rigging. Time now to link up with Port Harcourt for more stories on Nationwide.
Good to see you. Good evening and welcome to Port Harcourt. The postponement of the presidential and National Assembly elections may result in voter apathy this weekend. The apprehension was expressed by some Port Harcourt residents who are, however, operating the state not to be deterred by the unforeseen circumstances. Ifoma Umesa reports.
The sudden shift in dates for the 2019 elections by INEC, according to some Port Harcourt residents, could give room for voter apathy as people who had earlier traveled to their hometown vote would not want to travel again in order to save costs.
It will affect voters to come out because we talk about Nigerians residing abroad. One, they have paid their flights. They are not in Nigeria. They are not in their ward. They are not in their units. Some of them has gone to their constituency. As I'm talking to you, what will happen to that logistics?
Like some people are saying they are giving up after traveling and all that, they're going back and they will not come back to vote. But if you really have the country at heart, you have to come out to exercise your franchise.
Other respondents called on Nigerians not to be deterred by the postponements, but rather turn out en masse and cast their votes on the day of the election.
Percent are not happy because we have traveled to various wards and the local government, and finally they come to postpone the election. So by His grace, we also go and vote our choice.
If you're a true Nigerian and you know what is going on in the society today, I think it will not affect you.
The vote is the strength you have to deliver your president.
Ifoma Omesa, NTA News.
The provision of potable water across the breadth and length of Nigeria to curb outbreaks of waterborne diseases is a cardinal objective of the present administration. With the inauguration of the Rumuji Regional Water Project in Rivers, Minister of Water Resources Suleiman Adamu addressing the challenges of potable water in the Niger Delta region is progressively on course. Robinson Derataide has the details.
The Niger Delta is surrounded by water, yet lacks adequate potable water for consumption and other domestic uses. As the growing demand for articulated water projects, the federal government, through the Niger Delta Basin Development Authority, has constructed a 50,000-gallon regional water project in Rumuji River State to address potable water challenge in the area.
Water. It is the most important commodity for us. So I hope that you will cherish this scheme. You will guide it, you will protect it, you will make sure that nobody interferes with you or vandalizes it.
The decision that led to the choice of locating this live project in our community has gone a long way in informing us of your regards for.
The Ministry of Water Resources is a key partner in agricultural revolution and food security in the Niger Delta.
At Pramagri, all year round rice farming is ongoing. The authority is explored to possible of getting a private investor to involve in the Pramagri rice project.
A minister was also conducted innovated head office of the agency and other structures put in place for the convenience and productivity of staff. In Port Harcourt, Robinson Derataide, NTA News.
And that's our contribution from Port Harcourt. It's back to Ronke in Abuja for more reports on Nationwide.
Thank you, Daoju. The Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, has directed its members to reduce petroleum pump price from 145 naira to 140 following the postponement of elections. The decision, the national president of the association, Chinedu Okoronko, said was taken in order to motivate Nigerians to return to their respective polling stations to vote on February 23 and March 9, respectively. Mr. Chinedu Okoronko says the decision followed the concern expressed by President Muhammadu Buhari as well as other contestants, observers and voters nationwide over the election postponement. Ipman said this is part of his contribution towards encouraging Nigerians to participate in the election process. He therefore urged all its members across Nigeria to immediately comply with the directive. Meanwhile, the National Union of Road Transport Workers has undertaken to reduce the cost of transportation in favor of voters wishing to go back to their respective voting units to cast their ballots. The union says it will soon make a definite statement regarding the nature of subsidy as soon as consultations are concluded with members of National Executive Council. The decision by the union is in cognizance of the fact that a good number of voters will not return to vote in view of the cost implications. In the meantime, Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, says the statement issued by the Special Advisor Media to the Director General of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council, Donyo Kukwe, in which he credited Senate President Bukola Saraki with the appointment of Lai Mohammed as minister, is nothing but fiction writing. A statement signed by the Special Assistant to the Minister of Information and Culture, Shegun Adeyemi, noted that Lai Mohammed owes his appointment as Minister of the Republic to the President, Muhammadu Buhari, and no one else. The minister challenged Dr. Okukwe, who concocted the story question, to make available to Nigerians any evidence he may have to support his claim. We now go on another commercial break.
New edition of TV Guide is out with special focus on the role of the media in election coverage. Exclusive on the National Broadcasting Commission, its mandate as the sole regulator of Nigerian media. Dr. Toma Daba Ben and Ishak Modibo Kawu now. This edition also features the king of stand-up comedy in Nigeria, Ali Baba. NTA standards to be ready for election transmission after decades of abandonment. Find out from the DG transactional elections in our political space and evil wind that blows no good. NOTG, National Orientation Agency Conference. TV Guide, your indispensable companion, x-rays the impact of social media on electioneering process as electorates present their expectations from incoming government. Meet some TV professionals behind the screen and other inspiring stories in sports, entertainment, and lots more. Grab a copy at the vendor near you or NTA stations nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
Get the latest news and updates from across Nigeria on NTA Nationwide. NTA Nationwide, weekdays by 4 p.m. Get it first, get it fresh.
Up next is Sports Update.
The national female under-18 handball team are putting finishing touches ahead of the first phase West Africa World Cup qualifier in Niger Republic, set to commence February 23.